Welcome back, soulmates, to a pattern drafting class using the Natalie Bray method. In this class, we're going to be drafting the front bodice, and already we've marked out some measurements across the front area. So we're going to complete what has already been started. Okay, so without wasting time, for the front, we're going to be starting our measurement from the top line. At the back, we came down to mark our point O, but for the front, the point O, that is the starting point, is going to start from this borderline that we call the top line down. So the first measurement we're going to mark is in centimeter. We're going to be marking 4.5 centimeter for our shoulder line at the front. 4.5 centimeter. This is constant, but in larger sizes, you mark 4.4 centimeter. Okay, for the measurements we're using on almost everyone, 4 centimeter, 4.5 centimeter, but in larger sizes, 4 centimeter is required. We're going to mark this 4.5 centimeter across to about 16.5 centimeter. Let's just keep it here. Now below it, we're going to mark our neck depth of 7.5 centimeter, which is 3 inches. Okay, now at the top line, we're going to mark our neck width, which is the same thing we used at the front, at the back rather. So at the back, we use 7.5 centimeter, and we're going to mark the same 7.5 centimeter for the front. Now coming down to the depth of the neck, which is also 7.5 centimeter, that is 3 inches on the average for everyone. For bigger sizes or larger sizes, you could have 8 to 8.5 centimeter. We're going to mark the same 7.5 to use it and form a box so that it will be easy for us to connect the lines together. So here I'm going to use it to form a box so that I can connect my curve together. You can see what I have here. So for me to connect this curve, there are two methods you could use to connect the curve. Now from this point, I'm going to go up by 3 centimeter, and of course you're going to use your angle 45 to do this. Just the same thing we did at the back armhole. So using the pattern master, I'm going to connect the line, the angle 45, and then use it to mark my 3 centimeter line. I'll show us another method we could use to get this in case we don't have the pattern master or angle 45. So once I mark this dotted line that will guide my my line. I will mark 3 centimeter. Following that line, I could draw a straight line. Right, now another method we can use to get this or to curve the point is for us to see a guideline to curve our neckline. Now if you don't have this guideline, what you could do is to connect from this NP. This is the NP, the neck point, and the depth of the neck. Connect it on a straight line. Right, once you connect on the straight line, at the middle point you go back by 1.5 centimeter. I hope that is clear. Go back by 1.5 centimeter, then use that as a guideline to curve your neckline. So I'm going to be curving this neckline now. There's no particular time to curve the neckline. This 3.5 is just going to serve as my guideline to curve the neckline. Okay, now on the bust line, This is our bust line. We are required to go up from the bust line by 4 centimeter to get the chest line. But I'm going to use 6 centimeter because I've used it before and it's worked for me. One thing I'm thinking of this 4 centimeter is that when you sew it, for me, there's a kind of, I don't know, there's how it feels on me, whether it is tight towards the bust line or something of that nature. So I want to use 6 centimeter, okay, from the bust line to get my chest line. But from the textbook, we are required to go up by 4 centimeter. So you can decide to use the 4 centimeter that is required by the textbook, or you try my own 6 centimeter and see how it's going to be on you. I hope this is clear. So once you mark your chest line, I've told us how to get the chest line, 4 centimeter from the bust line, but I decided to use 6 centimeter by my own choice. So you can do the same thing by your own choice. And I'm going to rule this line and label it the chest line. Right? This is our chest line for the front. Of course, the back does not have a chest line. So at this shoulder line that we have here, we're going to mark a point, 16.5 centimeter. This 16.5 centimeter is a fixed number, okay, 16.5 centimeter. From this line, we're going to be slanting our shoulder line. 16.5 centimeter, just mark it, right? Now, once you have this 16.5 centimeter from the front NP, we're going to connect the NP to the 16.5 centimeter and then continue our line down using this slant as a guide to about 20 to 22 centimeter. Okay, so once you get from this NP to the 16.5 centimeter, you bring it down to about 20 to 22 centimeter. This is what we have. So once this is done, the next step we're going to take is at the bust line, we're going to measure your quarter chest. Okay, your chest, cross chest divide by 4 on this bust line, but I'm going to use bust span divide by 2. This is because the across chest, right, divide by 4 to get the bust span here. This is serving as the bust span, nipple to nipple measurement. It does not work for everyone. For me, it has not worked for me. The across chest divide by 4 to get my bust span. So I'm going to use my bust span divide by 2 and take it to where it is required. So the bust span here is 3.5, that is 7 divided by 2, 3.5 inches, not centimeter, 3.5 inches. So at this upper part too, I'm going to mark 3.5 inches because I'm going to connect it up, and I will come down from the bust line 2 centimeter. Please don't get confused with this change of centimeter and inches, right? I'm coming down 2 centimeter from the bust line to connect the line that I just marked. I want to get a more straight line. So I'm connecting this 2 centimeter below the bust line, and I'll connect it up to where I marked at the neck point. I hope you can see what I just did, right? Now from this line that I just drew, this bust span line, I'm going to follow the shoulder slant. I'll follow the shoulder slant from where it is and come out by 2 centimeter. 2 centimeter. From this line here, I will come down following this shoulder slant by 2 centimeter, and I'm going to connect this to this 2 centimeter below the bust line. Okay, now the next thing we're going to measure is our dart intake along this line. The dart intake, for the measurement we're using in the textbook, our dart intake is 8.5 centimeter. Our dart intake is going to start from this 2 centimeter in that we marked, and the dart is 8.5. So I mark 8.5 here, and I'm going to connect this 8.5 to this 2 centimeter that we dropped below the bust line. I hope you get that. So this is my dart intake, right? You can decide to mark it in order not to be confused. Okay, so we're making progress. Coming down at the chest measurements, we're going to be dividing our cross chest into two. For the cross chest, I measured 13 inches, which you can equally convert to cm. 13 inches divided by 2 is going to give me 6.5. So from the CF on the chest line, I'm going to measure 6.5, which is 13 inches. Now, once I have that marked, I'm going to measure the dart intake. Remember, we have two lines here. The first line connecting to my bust span, and then we have another line connecting the dart intake. So I'm not going to measure what I have inside this small line. I'm only going to measure what I have in my dart intake, right? And mark it after the 6.5 inches. So here I have 1.1, and I'm going to add the 1.1 to my measurement. I hope this is clear. Now, another method you could use to do this, because we are supposed to leave out these darts. Once you close these darts and you did not add what you have at the dart back, your measurement is just going to be very tight. Like, even mere looking at it, you know that something is wrong somewhere. So you can just measure like this, stop at the second line, not at the first line, stop at the second line, and then move the tape over to next the next dart leg and mark your measurement. It will still bring you to where we landed in the first place. Okay, so this is my chest point, CHP. Okay, now from this neckline, from the neck point, I'm going to measure my shoulder line. Now, to get the shoulder line, we're going to measure 12 centimeter, which is the shoulder measurement, plus the dart intake 8.5. Put the two of them together. That is what we're going to use to mark from this neck point to wherever the measurement stops. So my shoulder measurement is 12 centimeter plus 8.5 centimeter. That should be giving us about 20.5 centimeters. So from the neck point, I'm going to mark 20.5 centimeter. I hope this is making sense to you. So I'm going to connect this 20.5 to my chest point that I marked here. I'll connect it on a straight line. Then we're going to drop a perpendicular line, which is a straight line from this chest line to the bust line. That is a straight line. So for me to get this straight line, I'm going to measure what I have here. I have 7 3/4. I'm going to measure the same 7 3/4 here just to get a straight line to draw the perpendicular line. So this is it, a straight line down, right? And this will serve or give us a guideline on how to curve when we're curving the armhole. Now for us to get the width of our bust line so that we can connect our armhole curve to meet with the bust line just like we connected the back, we're going to do a little calculation to know how much width we want. Remember that we have, and this is a basic bodice and we have ease. Assuming it's not a basic bodice or we're doing something different, we can just stop where our measurement stops and know that it's just going to be well fitted. But this is not going to be too big though. It's just for um it's just going to have a little ease. So what we're going to do is, this is for the bust line. So we're going to divide our bust into two. The bust, whatever measurement you're working with, divide by 2. Okay, if you're using centimeter, you're dividing by 2. If you're using inches, you're equally dividing by 2. So let's assume I'm marking my measurements in inches. My bust is 39. Divide by 2, and I'm going to be adding 2 inches to it. And we know that 2 inches is same as 5 centimeter. Okay, that is, if you're using centimeter, divide by 2 plus 5 centimeter. If you're using inches, divide by 2 plus 2 inches. So my bust divided by 2 plus 2 is giving me 21.5. 21.5. Now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to minus the measurement I have for the back, the whole of my bust measurement at the back. This is the line for the bust measurement. I'm going to minus what I have, and when I measure it, I have 10.25. So what we are going to do is 25.5, 21.5 minus 10.25. I hope this is gotten. 21.5 minus 10.25, and that should be giving us around 11.25. I hope this is understood. So we're going to mark 11.25, and so whatever answer that gives us, we mark it here. Here is 11.25, right? I'll mark 11.25. Now coming to this point, I'm going to go up by 1.5, and that will serve as my guideline for connecting the armhole. As usual, I'm going to use angle 45 to get my 1.5. So I just made a dotted line and use that line to mark 1.5. The line is going to serve as a guideline. Okay, so the next we're going to do is to divide this line, the shoulder point SP and CHP, divide it into 2 and mark the midpoint. So here I have 4.5, and that will be 2.5. So at this 2.5, I'm going to go in by 1 centimeter, just 1 centimeter. And that will serve as a guideline for me to connect the armhole at this point to this CHP. Okay, then from this CHP I'm going to connect. If it's possible for you to mark everything at once, which I somehow doubt it's going to be possible, but in case it is for you, that will be fine. The point is to connect from SP to this 1 cm in to this CHP point to the 1.5 and then back to this point. So if you're able to get everything together, that's fine. If you're not able to get them together, mark it one after the other. Okay, so once I've connected this, I'm going to connect from here to this 1.5 before bringing it down to this point. That is because it's somehow difficult for me to connect everything together. If it's easy for you, good and fine. So I've connected to this 1.5 centimeter line that I marked in. Now the next point is for me to connect to this 11.25, and to connect is we're going to dip the armhole a little. We're not just going to connect it on this straight line. It's advisable, or it's okay if your curve dips a little at this point. I hope you can see what I have. There's this a little space between the straight line and where the curve is going to pass to get to this 11.25 that I have. So I'm going to be connecting it this way. You can see the let me measure. This is about 0.5 centimeter. 0.5 centimeter, not up to 1 centimeter. 0.5. So you can use that as a guideline to know how to connect to this point. I hope this is clear. Now the next thing to do is to mark our hip measurement. 41 divided by 4 will I have 10.25. I'm going to be adding half inch to 10.25 because that is what I want to add. You can decide to exhaust everything that you have. Of course, what is remaining is quite small, it's insignificant, but this is just what I want to take. This is just to show us that you can decide to take any allowance that you want. Ordinarily, when drafting, the back will be bigger than the front will be bigger than the back by 3 centimeters, but in this case I decided to share it equally, adding the amount of ease that I want to have on the hip line. So the next thing is to get our true bust line. This is a bust line, but not the true bust line. The true bust line is where the nipple point is, the highest point of the bust. Okay, so from the textbook, we are to come down by 4 centimeters, right? Well, to come down by 4 centimeters, but the truth is that it might not be okay for everyone. So if I have 4 centimeters here and that is not where my bust point is, there's going to be a little issue. So the best thing is to measure your bust point from the shoulder line. So my bust point is 11, and you can see that the 4 centimeter was a bit longer than the 11. So I'm just going to mark 11, leaving the 4 centimeter for them. Okay, this can work for the 4 centimeter can work for some persons, yes, but it might not work for others. So it's better you take your measurements. So this here is our true bust line. Okay, this is our true bust line. CB, true bust line. You label it. Here we have our CHP. Here we have our SP, our NP, and all that. Okay, so this is the connection from the hip to the UP for the front UP. So basically, this is what we need. We have not finished with the pattern, but for this class, we're going to be stopping here. And I need you, please, to draft your own pattern using this method up to this point. I need to see it so that we can proceed to the next class, right? So in the next class, we're going to be talking about imputing the dots. That is, we've not done any form of shaping on this bodice. We've not done anything, even at this dart area. We need to get our true shoulder line and the back dart and all that and all that. So in our next class, we're going to be dealing with that. See you.